you have to wear certain things. So certain magazines, they have to appease the advertisers or whatever. They have a relationship with advertisers, so they have to also place their clothes in.
Did you encounter any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I know from my publicist that they said no to us they wanted to work with us, but then when we had restrictions, they said no, things like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But then I've faced different things now where I now will buy vintage silk, I have to say, or like I'll buy Stella McCartney vintage silk, which is supposedly more humane, because I've had so much synthetic fabric. And I just also worry about that and the environmental impact of that. Sure. And I just don't. Anyways, there's so many things to consider when you're buying something, right?
Can you guys educate people on silk? Because that is when people get leather. Oh yeah, that's animal skin. Okay, get it. But things like wool and silk, silk really did. Can you explain where that comes from? And
well, I mean, I think it can come from different silkworms and maybe even other insects, I believe. But they boil them. I think they kill them in other ways.
So that the silk will separate from the insect.
And so alive. They boil them alive?
Yeah, because the animal, the creature is inside the silk bolus, right? And so what my understanding is, they dump it in and that separates the animal.
So being boiled alive
there's peace silk, which they don't boil, but it's kind of got a different feeling to the thing. It's harder to find. It's still an animal product, so technically not vegan. I mean, it's like everyone makes their choices, right?
Yeah, so whether you eat honey or,
I know. You make choices in life, and like not every, I mean, there are people that are 100%. I mean, you could brush away the insects as you walk too. I mean, I'm always like moving insects away, but yeah.
But what's beautiful about what you just said is that you're thinking about it, which is, I think, and my sister always says, she doesn't mind so much where people draw lines as long as they draw lines. Most people don't draw lines at all.
They don't think about it. They don't want to think about it. Yeah.
So I really appreciate it. Now, just full disclosure, I never, until the, 10 years ago, maybe, or 12 years ago, I wouldn't say, oh, I don't wear wool, leather, or silk. I can't be putting those when I was working on the set. I separated the character. However, the wardrobe people were always more than happy, because it fit so much better in their budget, to buy me shoes that were from Payless, because I made it really clear that that's what I preferred. And I wouldn't wear a leather jacket or a fur, something that screamed I'm from an animal. But if nobody could tell and they were using a used shirt or something, then I would. Now I would probably say no, that would be in my contract. But so we all draw lines, right? And then we learn.
I didn't do it, by the way, until I started Bones, and I was the lead character, and I felt like I could say, hey, find me things without silk, wool, leather, skins, etc. And they're also much more accommodating, and I felt the confidence to do that. In other jobs, I didn't feel like I had the confidence. I ended up wearing a leather jacket and something because I didn't feel like I could say no. I mean, looking back, I could have, or I could have protested and like maybe not won that battle, but I haven't always had the confidence to do it, or felt like I could, or didn't want to step on toes. And the world has changed in a lot of ways, negatively, in that there's a lot of fast fashion, and a lot of that is synthetic. And so it is easier to find the vegan materials that can be negative and positive. But I've said, things I've worn, like used things that are leather before and stuff like that. And I don't feel like there's such harm in that either. But everyone makes their choices and your lines, exactly like you're talking. I'm like hitting this microphone, apparently. I'm going to sound like a ghost.
Speaking of the show,
yes.
Your character, Dr. Brennan, I watched myself a Bones last night.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Which episode did you see?
Your dude was off for like almost a year.
Oh, were they married already?
I have no idea if you're married or not.
Oh.
Because it didn't talk about it in there.
I probably won't remember the episode.
Well, he was off like at war. And he came back after 7 months. It was going to be for a year, but he came back after 7 months. You were like in Indonesia or something,
right?
Fighting
Maluku
people that
Islands, maybe.
Yeah,
was
and people were coming, and
like
your co-star, the other lady, like got down in her skivvies because it was that episode. It was good. But I was my husband Lyson. He watches it when he's on his bike. in the garage.
People watch it at the gym too. My friends will be like, "I'm watching you at the gym."
He, so I said, "Oh, I gotta see her in action." And I said, "What's her character like?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's just like me. It's like no emotion. She's all left brain." Just completely one dimensional, just genius. And I was like, oh, that's just like you. It is. He's a genius. But I was thinking, wow. And you guys are actresses and I don't know that world at all. But as I was watching, I was like, yeah, wow, he's kind of right. But obviously in real life, you have a big heart because you're vegan and these issues, touch you deeply. And so that means that portion of your right brain works quite well, I would imagine. And so is it... like, what's it like to play somebody? I mean, she seems like I don't know you at all, but it's just a guess. And from what Alexandra's told me about you, it seems like you're almost the complete opposite.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that I definitely similar, like that I can tie to. And after playing the character for so long, you kind of like, the character affects you. I'm sure we could talk about, like, I don't know if that happened with you, especially in Baywatch, doing it for so long. But, like, you affect the character, and the character changes over time, which is wonderful, too. But yeah, I mean, the creator of the show would always say, like, Emily's the least like her character of any of the actors. And then people would be like, oh, she's not smart. And he'd be like, no, she's smart. But
so lame.
He's like, I'm not as smart as my character. It's hard. Like, I remember, especially first season, I remember there being like so many scenes where we did one episode, it was about foster care, I think. And there was just like this heart-wrenching thing about a kid and what he went through in foster care and the system. And I'm like, just bawling. They couldn't use any of the takes. I'm like bawling, just like listening to the story. And like, we can't use any of that. No. Okay. And then I pull it together and have to
straight face
my acting hat. More like hold on to the emotions. Bring it all in. But yeah, there's certainly things that are similar. I mean, I think I have a certain left brain that is maybe more, I don't know. I certainly can relate to, I like logical things. I loved math and science when I was a kid. I am a literal person in that, like, my co-star, for instance, we were opposites in a lot of ways, Dave Boreanaz, and that he would like speak in metaphor. I remember doing press interviews with him, and I think he was talking about something I did not understand what he was saying. And then I realized later, he's talking metaphor, but I was like, is he crazy? I think he's crazy because he's talking about these things. I don't know what he's talking about. And then later on, I'm like putting it together. I'm like, it's like poetry. It's metaphor. Okay. But when I'm like expecting literal things, like let's talk literally like what is happening right now, not like let's imagine things in the air. I don't know. I don't remember what he's talking about, but I had concerns about him.
How does a character affect you? Like you said that, and everybody's listening is thinking about, well, what? How does the character affect you, like at home and like in your regular life?
My husband would say, yeah, because I would say, well, I mean, there's certain things that I leaned in that direction, but I'm always like, well, legally, I mean, this is not my character exactly, but I'd be thinking about, like, if my husband he's a writer and an actor too, but he'll talk about something in a script or something he's writing, and I'm like, well, that wouldn't logically happen, or like that legally you can't. I don't think you can do that. Like, he's like, it doesn't matter if legally you can do it. The character's gonna do it. Like, I'm like, no, but legally, I think that's illegal or whatever. I'm like, no, you have to follow the rules. I mean, I was certainly like that already to a certain degree, I guess, but it affected me more because you're so used to saying things. Did you experience that too?
You tap into a certain side because we have a million different parts of ourselves, and when you start tapping into certain ones for a character, then they surface in your regular life. Like, hello, here I am. I've been here all along. You just didn't notice me until you played this character. So
we all need to take some acting.
That's it. Yeah. No, acting classes are wonderful for everybody because they're like playing, finding different parts of yourself and accepting them too, because every character you play, even if they're a bad guy, you accept them because every bad guy thinks they're a great person. So you have to accept. There's a lot of acceptance going on.
Hey folks. Okay. Back by very popular demand is our plant-powered plate fridge magnet, which you are going to receive for free if you leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. So here are the details. Just write your quick review. Does not need to be long, does not need to be a whole story. Just be honest and speak from the heart. Then take a quick screenshot of the review you wrote and email it to us at podcast@switchforgood.org. That's podcast@switchforgood.org. And include your mailing address so we can send you a power plate. We are doing this because the more reviews we garner, the higher we go in search results, which means more folks will learn about our podcast. So the power is in your hands. Leave us a review and zoom, zoom, your power plate arrives at your doorstep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.